I'm going to start the meeting, even though I don't have a gavel.
That's
I
it.
guess I'll use my phone. There we go. Okay, hi. So, let's just start. David's not here. Roll call. That's fine. Approval of agenda. How are we feeling? Peachy? Peachy. Alrighty. Did you guys look over the minutes from March 12th? David is not skipping indeed. Did you bring me my gavel?
Not that.
Oh, okay.
I'll go back.
Yeah. That's fine. Okay, so minutes are good. Approved. Alright. And now it's Jessica's turn, which is great. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. So I don't want to use too much of your time, so it looks like you have lots of things going on today. But I wanted to spend a little bit of time with you all today to talk about Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and particularly Take Back the Night. I feel, on behalf of the Women's Center, I just wanted to express our gratitude and our thanks for Student Government Association. A couple years ago, a couple of senators were really eager to support the Women's Center and our budget's really tiny. So total operating budget for the Women's Center is under $5,000 a year, and that's like being generous with like rounding up. So the fact that SGA has put in their budget line funding to support Take Back the Night and other work around sexual violence is huge for us. So we don't have to then take away money from our other programming efforts to do Take Back the Night, which is one of our more expensive events because there's a lot of moving pieces to it. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And also I wanted to come here today because I find it really important and valuable that when we're doing partnerships with other offices and departments and associations that it's not one way. So I don't want to be like, great, thanks SGA for the money, bye. The Women's Center really values our partners and collaborations. We don't ever want it to be a one-way street. So one of the reasons I wanted to be here today is just continuing to offer to you the services and resources the Women's Center offers. So for anybody who was at the September or August retreat that you all did, the Women's Center was there to do our Supporting Survivors workshop. So we offer that all the time, anytime. We can do it for your student groups. We can do it again for SGA. So that's one thing that we would always love to offer you. And then also thinking about that if there's concerns or questions you have, that we can always be a resource for consulting, or if you need us to come to meetings, we'd be more than happy to do that. And so I just want you to know that like we're in it with you, and that we don't want to just be a person who is grateful for your money and like nothing else. And so we definitely want it to be a two-way street. So speaking of two-way streets, Take Back the Night is coming up, and we're really excited to have you all continue to be partners. Take Back the Night is a part of a whole month of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which is in April. And Marquis was just in the office, and I was like, how many people are going to be there? And she said 8. So I printed out 8. So, but this is just, we'll have actual real flyers, but I just wanted to bring this up just for visuals of all of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So you'll notice that Take Back the Night, when you get a flyer, if you want to share it with someone, is one of our keynote, it's like our keynote events of the month. In addition to the My Name and Quilt, which was part of Critical Social Justice in the fall, but it got rained out, even though it never actually really rained. So hopefully that will actually happen again in April. But those are our 2 large events that we'll be doing that create space for survivors and for allies to support survivors and to really bring awareness about sexual violence and what it is. We also, for all these events, we want students walking away knowing what resources are, if they want to report, or if they don't want to report, but they want other emotional support services and resources. The whole idea really is about awareness. So I hope that you'll maybe come to some of these other events that are on the calendar for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. But for Take Back the Night, I just wanted to let you know that we are having volunteers sign up right now. We just did another push, so there's not as many spots available. What we definitely would love is SGA wanted to volunteer, and individuals, please sign up. The link I sent to a couple SGA folks to send out to all of you, so hopefully you have it. Another way that you all can get involved with Take Back the Night, in addition to being a volunteer, is if anybody's been to the march and Speak Out, you'll see that lots of people come with signs. And so what we really like to do is have those signs representing the communities who are there, so that when survivors are at the Speak Out, they can look at it and say like, oh wow, SGA has my back, or SGA is here and they're supporting me. We also, Take Back the Night is part of or it falls during Greek week. So there's a lot of fraternities and sororities that are represented, and sometimes that can feel overwhelming for people. They're like, whoa, this is a Greek life event. It isn't. We also are collaborating with them, but it would be really great to see other organizations present as well, so people can see SGA or if you're a part of other groups. So we'll have sign making available in the Women's Center throughout that whole week leading up to Take Back the Night. So feel free to come down and make some signs and bring those to Take Back the Night. And then also you'll have a table there. So we have a resource fair at the beginning of Take Back the Night, or before the speak out, and then after the march. So hopefully Markia or someone will be talking to you all about who's tabling for that. I asked Markia specifically about being at that event because I think it's really important that students know that SGA is a voice for them. So if there's issues that they're experiencing about campus climate or sexual violence and Title IX or whatnot, my hope is that they know that they can use you as someone who is advocating for them, which is why I asked if you all wanted to have people there. And then that's all I had on my bullet list that I just made with Take Back the Night kind of reminders. But do you all have any questions about Take Back the Night or your role or how you'd like to show up or anything that I can do to make you all feel involved in this important event?
Jess, what was the date for tabling?
Tabling, so it's the same day as Take Back the Night. It's April 12th. So the speak out starts at 6:30, but we encourage people to get there around 6 so you can check out the resource fair. So Green Dot will be there, the Relationship Violence Advocates, Counseling Center, peer health educators, and then some off-campus resources will be there too.
And so for SGA, do you need us to contact you to confirm we want a table, or is Markia already? Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
If you've never been to Take Back the Night before and you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about, we have a whole blog series on the Women's Center blog called What You Need to Know Take Back the Night. So we have it about like what is the Survivor Speak Out. So that is specifically for survivors to share their stories in public and to kind of give public testimony to that. We then have a march around campus, and we use the construction's blocking some of our march routes. So we're redoing the march route, and I think we're adding a new component in that I'm really excited about. We're halfway through the march. We're going to pause and have a survivor circle. So what we've heard from feedback is that not every survivor feels comfortable or safe or ready to share their story at the actual speak out. So we're going to pause in front of the admin building and ask any survivor who wants to come forward to just come in the middle of a circle, and then all of the allies will just be there to kind of give that support and validation again before we continue marching. So really, as we're going down Academic Row, we didn't want to like bump into each other as we're turning around. So we're pausing for this circle, but we're excited about that new component. And then after the march, we do a craftivism. So people who aren't ready to go home yet can stay on Main Street, and there'll be clothesline t-shirt making, the Monument Quilt display t-shirt or making, or Dear Survivor letters, where you can write a letter to Survivor that we put in a scrapbook. And then We Believe You, which is a new activist group against sexual violence, will be hosting a discussion group in the Women's Center for anybody who still wants to talk more about their experiences with sexual violence. So that's kind of what the night looks like. And then just as an FYI too, we are still in desperate need for Monument Quilt volunteers. So that's the following week. It's on a Tuesday, and it will be bright and sunny like today, hopefully. But we need 25 volunteers to help set up the quilt and 25 volunteers to take down the quilt. It's a labor of love that you don't get a lot of credit for. Unlike Take Back the Night, where a lot of our volunteers are very visible and seen. This will be more so like you're putting out quilt squares, and all the quilt squares are stories from survivors about their experiences. For a visual representation, that will be out on Erickson. So if you could even volunteer for like an hour, we'd really appreciate that. I forgot to pass out. If you want us to Take Back the Night sticker or button, feel free to take one. You can pass it down. I won't leave until it comes back. But thank you all. I really hope that my gratitude is seen. We really do support SGA's support on this for sure.
So what I could probably do is I've already signed up to volunteer for Take Back the Night. So if you guys want the sign up link, I can probably send that out to you guys. In addition, Jess, I'll probably reach out to you and just get more information about like where people volunteer for the Monument Quilt and stuff like that. And I'll just send out all the links in the email to you guys. That way is as accessible.
Yes.
That was
And I currently have an email that has both links in it, so I can just forward it to you when I get back at Women's Center, and then you can do whatever you want with it.
okay.
It's super easy. It's through Sign Up Genius. And the one thing with volunteering, and I forgot to mention this, is that we do require volunteers to go to a training. Particularly for Take Back the Night, there's a lot of moving pieces, and so we kind of do here's everything that you need to know about that. So in addition to signing up for the role, you would sign up for which day you're going to come to the volunteer training. Thank you, everybody. If you have other questions, feel free to come find us in the Women's Center. We're located right down by the Yum Shop. So come and visit us if you've never been there before. Awesome. Thanks.
Of course.
All right.
Thanks for coming to us.
Sure. I'm out, I guess, right? Yeah.
Yeah. As long
Did I
as
dig in more? Oh, I did it
Does
under
anybody
time.
have any questions about the Women's Center in general for Jess right now? While she's here? Perfect resource. No?
No.
Oh, come on.
Come find us.
Yes. It's a fun place to be.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Yeah, have a good night, Jess. Okay. Perfect. We do that. Okay, so I want us to go around and do introductions just because there's some people that are around here. So hi, I'm Lily, I'm the Speaker of the Senate. Use she, her pronouns. And I'm Julie.
Hello, I'm Gerardo. I'm the senator. They, them,
I'm Anisha. I'm the Assistant Speaker. She, her pronouns.
I am Brandon. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a senator, and I'm also
Hey, I'm Ryan. I use him, he pronouns. I'm not actually technically at UMBC yet. I'm transferring here in the fall.
Awesome. Awesome.
Hi, I'm Aline. I'm a senator.
I'm Jonathan. I'm having to spell the role. I just came with it because I wanted to get involved.
Thank you.
I'm David, Assistant Director of Campus Life.
Justin, I'm a senator. He, him pronouns.
Miriam, I'm a physics major.
Yeah.
Wait, why did I say physics major?
So good.
No?
Keep going.
She, her pronouns.
I'm Miles, Senator, EM.
Hi, Jordan, freshman assistant senator, he, him pronouns.
Cool. So those of you that are new to the body, feel free to ask questions as we go throughout the agenda. It's a pretty open body, so unless like we enter executive session for some random reason, you guys are basically just participate as we do. So feel free to talk. Okay, so I'm going to give the floor to Gerardo. He's going to talk about joint legislation.
hello. So, I've been talking about working on guiding document changes for like the past semester. That Carly, who's the chair of the finance board, and I were trying to work on from last year. So a little bit, well, like on the link. But if you have laptops, that's cool too. But we are proposing a couple of constitutional changes. There's a background. From what I know that I think is correct. We sort of, we as an organization were charged with sort of performing an external review of our guiding docs to see if like there's any loopholes or anything that doesn't really quite fall in line with our overall practice. And to see if there's any ambiguities, inconsistencies, gaps that we have to fill in. So we were sort of given a report in March of 2017, late in the sort of season. But now we're sort of, Carly and I had a conversation with the current SGA advisor, that is David, on like what practical changes can we put right now that is more so legal oriented, not necessarily philosophical oriented, which is what we hope to do later down the road. And so we really want to get these changes in and through for the elections in a couple weeks, because any constitutional changes to the Constitution requires a popular vote by the overall UMBC undergraduate community. but I linked up the joint legislation that Carly and I wrote, as well as all the changes that will be made, which is a lot, kind of. But just an overall summary of the changes that we're doing, we're changing the language to be gender inclusive, and the affected articles are there. The departmental name change, specifically when it comes to the appeals board, since it's no longer student life, it's more so the campus life department that will be dealing with that. There's also concerns of lack of clarification of what would happen in a post-May 15th inauguration, where there's no officers available to conduct the oath of office, of which it seems very practical to have the SGA advisor eligible to go ahead and administer the oath in those cases. There's a concern of a lack of a removal process. Currently, where it stands, it just says that you can just be removed. Yes. Now is included an overall eligibility check of how that's sort of done, the process, and in the case that there's any contention of that eligibility check, it will then go through the appeals board, who will then hear both things. Yes.
This might not be this section, you might need to include it. Is the changes reflective of what, I know there's concern about reinstating people who are academically eligible.
It doesn't address that now.
At all in the changes?
No. There's just, this one is 5.6.1. So if we go here, this is a big change.
Oh.
So the former was any officer who ceases to meet the eligibility requirements set forth above, as in somewhere in the Constitution, shall be automatically and immediately removed from office. And it gives no context of how that's done, the process that's taken. Now, because of the GPA requirement, folks will still be automatically removed. But if there is some contention of like, hey, my GPA is actually this and that for the semester, they will then also go through this process with the appeals board to contest it. And then it gives like sort of procedure of like if the appeals board finds that advisor's recommendation is false in a sense, then the person who was sort of in limbo would be reinstated. But if it stands, then the advisor's determination will be final, because the advisor is the one that reaches out to our campus partners to check academic and judicial eligibility. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I have a question. I'm not like challenging how this is written. But why is it that someone who's ineligible is vacated and then reinstated instead of giving them 48 hours before they're vacated? If that makes sense.
Could you repeat that?
So the way it's written here is that if it's found ineligible, they are immediately considered vacated. And then they have 28 hours to appeal, and then they're reinstated. And so I was wondering, like, for simplicity, like in my mind, it would make more sense to not vacate them, to give them an appeal room, I guess, during that 48 hours, and then vacate them after that if it is like a valid ineligibility. Instead of, yeah.
Sorry, David.
Let's imagine that the way a person becomes ineligible is that they are found responsible for some kind of harm and the judicial penalty, there is a suspension or worse.
Okay, that makes sense.
You want to give that person 48 hours while they appeal to do harm to SGA using the powers of their position.
Okay. That makes sense.
In fact, most of the time when SGA officers have become ineligible in their academic or judicially, it hasn't been a controversy. Like, standards are clear enough. Sometimes there's issues with, well, my professor intends to change the grade, but the transcript doesn't reflect it, and so when does the check officially get run to make that determination? But once in a while, there's a situation where someone who's clearly ineligible doesn't want to go and wants to make trouble.
Okay, that's
So I know David commented on a different wording. Is that the wording that's in red, or is
Yes.
that? Okay.
I based it on that. I had a one sentence suggestion of what should became a paragraph.
Okay.
David's suggestion, which is probably more reasonable because he's a JV. Is everything clear so far? It's very administrative, and I apologize for that. But you kind of need to, not tonight, but just introducing me if you have any sort of wording issues or anything of that sort. But moving on, there's an establishment and clarification that appointed officers cannot be removed because of discriminatory purposes. The way it was worded previously is that they can just be removed, but doesn't clarify that they cannot be removed for discriminatory purposes. If that makes sense.
And
Which will be
That
terrible.
could be really
In the actual joint legislation, it says no officer shall be determined.
Shall be removed.
Should be
Terminated,
Oh, okay, there we go.
but I don't think, I just wanted to make sure that we.
Yeah, just so everybody knows my plans for this, I think I want Gerardo to give us a summary right now, with the understanding that we'll go back during this week from now to Monday, read over the legislation that you're seeing of the changes that are in red. And then next meeting, Gerardo, all of us will go over line by line and read it together. It's gonna be tedious as hell, but we're gonna do it. Make sure we're okay with the wording, and then I plan to have us vote on it next meeting. So you guys know like the timeline.
So also keep in mind that we're not the only ones voting on this. This is
Right.
joint legislation, so it does go through the finance board, but any constitutional changes is final once the public, the undergraduate student body votes on it by majority vote.
Right.
Cool. Last two things. There's an overall just like one word change or several word change to when it comes to the impeachment trials, of changing the word trial to hearing, simply because of the overall practical, because of the legal implications that fall under trial. It's more consistent with educational and administrative processes to say hearing instead, because they don't fall under the same realm of like giving giving a trial and like having a lawyer. It's not the same as having an overall trial, hearing within an impeachment hearing, impeachment process. Cool. And then the last part was removal of the only reference in any of our guiding docs of a fall semester election, which kind of makes it obsolete because nowhere else it mentions a fall semester election. It mentions the process of a special election if that is the case. But because of our overall common practices of elections happening in the spring, unless otherwise, it's kind of purposeless.
Can you go to that article?
Yeah. So that is
6.3.
here. It just changes the right to petition to
Okay.
be placed on the next election.
So you're just changing the language to be understanding that like we always have spring elections, but otherwise it would be a special election. It's like implied everywhere, like elsewhere in the document.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And those are literally all the changes to the Constitution.
And just to clarify, these changes are to address the legal issues that were pointed out?
Yes. Because there's a small handful of like philosophical issues in our overall guiding docs, but those are more so reflected in our bylaws and our procedural rules
There we go.
and everything else. But those will be later on reviewed. But this is more urgent because of the elections that's coming up.
Okay.
the biggest issue with the consultant identified, which can be addressed outside of the Constitution, is that SGA must award funds and resources on a viewpoint-neutral basis.
Oh.
Particularly against the work of the finance board. So that has to be reflected somewhere in the governing documents, or there's jeopardy.
Is it not?
It is not.
No.
I mean, the First Amendment applies there, but the governing documents need to take on that responsibility.
And it's cool because it's based on the court case.
All right, so newer senators or those that don't have a lot of handle over Constitution, bylaws, and stuff. Do you guys have any questions? Even about like the process in general, or what these things do and what they are?
Should we get this to Chris Casey? Because I feel like he might take a while to respond.
I got an idea.
I'm sure it's not a second.
Wait, so this has to be voted on by the student body?
For the process for this, not to interrupt, but the process for any constitutional changes, it goes through Senate and Finance Board. And if it is a 2/3 vote in both bodies, then it then goes as a referendum to the student body.
Okay.
And if they vote majority, yes, then changes are in effect. If not, then it fails.
If the student body has to, it still goes to President Rodowski for approval.
What?
Yep.
Right.
Dr. H.
This is not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Rabalba.
That's a better name than Dr. H, so I'll give that one to Miriam.
Oh, and this is really useful for budget season too. Dr. Rabowski also signs off the SGA budget.
Yeah. Which
That might take like a month.
we'll be talking about soon. Get ready, get sleep, okay? I'm just saying. I'm kidding. It's not that bad. It's fine. But, Scarlett, do you have anything else to say?
No, I was just going to say that if you have any suggestions or any comments, concerns, recommendations, comments, concerns, let me know. Or comment, or let me know.
I have a question about just the majority vote. So, is it usually like through an email? Like, how do like students get the
So that's-
referendum?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's entirely based on how the election board decides to do their election process.
Oh, okay.
So along with voting on the candidates, they will also have that referendum question of voting yes or no on it.
That's what we do this summer, right? That's what we do. Yeah.
So in the past, it's just been through my UNDC and voting through there.
Okay.
Okay. Are we feeling good? How we feel? All right. So like I said, you guys never really have homework other than me outside of meetings, but it is an expectation for me at least that you guys do read these, ask questions as needed, because you guys are doing the work. Other than that, Gerardo's here as a resource, David's here as a resource. I can try to answer any questions, but I don't know how confident I'll be in that. So yeah, if we're good though, we're gonna move on. Cool. Alrighty, so moving on to Miriam's election.
Sorry, can I just finish this?
I'm gonna talk before you this time.
Okay.
Okay, so as you guys know, this is Miriam. David's starting after legislation like I did something wrong. Did I do something wrong? No. Okay. So we know Miriam. She's been in this body for a good bit. And whenever I spoke to her after becoming speaker, I knew we'd be interested. She did say that she would. And as we know, last time we did confirmations for Miles, or elections for Miles, she just had to have her eligibility checked. Davis has done that, and now we're here. So, are you guys sure?
Yeah.
Okay. What's up?
It just says 2018, 2019 academic year, but wouldn't it be 2017, 2018?
You know,
You can just post.
move to amend this one to 2017, 2018. Thanks. I know. What did?
You just do that.
You don't need to move to amend something that is not itself been moved.
Somebody just told me I had to do it.
There's no legislation that's in front of the body right now. We're looking at a piece of paper on the screen. Until someone makes a motion to approve something.
Paper on the screen.
What do you think they would want to do?
Well, guys, you know what this means. We should probably make sure that Miles also doesn't say 2018 to 2019. But anyway, continuing with my life. So I'm going to give the floor to Miriam. Just talk a little bit about yourself. Reintroduce yourself to us.
Okay. My name is Miriam Abalo-Togo. I am a freshman physics major. Do I just talk about like how I'm so sorry. I didn't prepare for this. Do I just talk about like how I came about.
Talk about anything if you want, or if you don't have much to say, we can move into questions.
Yeah, I think that's really good idea.
Okay. So I'm opening up the floor for questions, Miriam. I'm not asking the first one, so somebody asked.
So, I might just be remembering something off, but you weren't previously associated with SGA.
No.
So I guess now that you've been sitting in so many of our meetings, and what do you think that your approach to being a senator will be? Or like, what have you learned from your time that you're going to apply as a senator? And what's your goal coming out of Senate now that we only have about 7 weeks?
So what I've learned, or like, what I've learned about Senate, like, I guess like just coming to meetings, is that it's like it's a good opportunity to like present your ideas and whatnot, but I feel like at times like people can fall into like not class mentality, but like it can just get to a point where everyone just agrees with each other and nothing really being talked about. It's just like, yes, I agree, and then we just move along. So I think my approach would be being the gadfly, so to speak, and like regardless of whether or not I believe what I question, just trying to generate opposition. Yeah.
What would you say your vision is for SGA?
I would say my vision for SGA is to be inclusive of like everyone, and I know that's really corny because that is the vision of SGA, and like I don't know, I feel like it's redundant for me to say that, but like I don't think it really is that. Like I want it to be something that like actively goes out and like seeks the student, like the voice of the student body, like and not just I mean, yeah, just actively seeking the voice of the student body. That's my vision.
To expand on your vision of SGA, would it be correct to assume that you're referring to things that you say as shortcomings of SGA and things you want to see change?
I don't think they're shortcomings because I feel like we're doing as much as we can. I just feel like it's something that like needs to be like a collective effort, if that makes any sense. Like not something that one person wants to do, something that everyone wants to do, and like if that becomes the case, like it'll, I don't know, be more likely to happen, if that makes any sense. So like I want it to be like a collective goal to like actively seek the student, the voice of the student body. If that makes sense. Yeah.
So with your change of position to a senator, how do you see your role and I guess behaviors or activities change as well?
I don't think anything would really change besides like the title. I think because I feel like I don't know, my presence already is like I don't know, just a member of the governing body. I don't really see a difference.
Can you talk a little bit about your time doing this outside of SGA and how much time you have to devote to the position, please?
I'm in a lot of clubs, but all of them usually meet like during free hour. So besides free hour, yeah, I'm free all the time. And like being a physics major is like hard, but Monday is just Monday. Yeah.
Alright, we have other questions from Marion?
Yes, please.
How do you hope to approach this position as an upcoming sophomore?
As an upcoming sophomore? Like in what sense?
In the sense that it's kind of like weird to like label you as a freshman now, since you're stepping up
Mm-hmm.
to the sophomore label. So how do you hope to use your time as a senator with your current experiences?
To like apply it to like next year? Or?
How would you apply your current experience right now?
Okay, how would I apply my current experiences right now? I guess like taking in what I've learned at like being a student here for a semester and a half, I just take my experiences and take the experiences of my peers and like sort of like bring them to the table when discussing things that affect the student body.
Give an example of that.
I really can't think of an example. I guess like not complaints, but like just things that students feel in general, and like just bringing that to the table. I'm sorry. Yeah.
In terms of, or the context of SGO, who's your most influential figure?
In SGA?
Not necessarily here, like just in terms of the person, just general life.
Oh, in
Historical
like,
figure, or like famous person.
Oh, So, I don't know if you guys are familiar with like 80s, 90s like rappers, but A Tribe Called Quest. Yeah, okay. So like the lead rapper man, his name is Q-Tip. He's, I don't know, I guess like my motivation, because like his philosophy was like basically like trying to, it was sort of like Socratic in the sense that he wanted like people to think for themselves, and like, you know, he just wanted to move society. Like it didn't matter in which direction, he just wanted people to think and be. Am I making any sense? Yeah. So that's sort of like what I want to do. I want to inspire like the student body to like care enough to like have their voices be heard, regardless of whether or not like they share the same opinion. Just like caring enough to talk. Yeah.
No, it's fitting.
I have one last question. So, I know you've been sitting in our meetings, but as we're approaching budget season, how have you taken this inspired? What have you done to try and familiarize yourself with that aspect of SGA so you can be prepared to begin?
So budgeting, nothing really. Like, after I like initially like expressed interest in like filling like the Senate vacancy, I had a meeting with Gerardo, and like he basically like directed me to different documents that I could like read up on, and I read like the guiding documents for the most part, but I don't think I have any like knowledge about budgeting season. Like I'm very ignorant about budgeting, but I'm prepared to like learn.
What other questions do you have for you on the discussion? Really? Okay. Discussion.
I mean, I think it was very hard for people to ask questions, seeing as you've been in our meetings since, I want to say last semester?
No, not last semester, yeah.
Beginning of the semester, so we've seen you over 7 weeks. I definitely think that you'd be a good fit. You already add a great voice to our team, so.
I feel like at this point it's almost sort of a giving credit where credit is due situation, where I feel like Miriam already does a pretty good chunk of what the senator is expected to do by coming to these meetings.
All right. What do we do? Probably nothing.
Oh, what's this? Move to approve Senate legislation 5717.
Second.
Hey. All right. So, how many senators for? Now we have to start the whole process over again.
Really?
Would anybody like to register any abstentions?
I feel like since I brought Mary in here and like I know her, I feel like we're pretty close outside of the Senate. My vote would be sweet.
Is that how it works? Alright, well, cool, thank you. I just have to register. Alright, so here we go again. How many senators for? Alright, how many, anybody against? One abstaining. None are missing. And with this, 7, 1, 0, it passes. Yay! And now I have to print out the legislation for a third time because of typos. Yay! Good stuff. Okay, so over time. Okay. Guess who doesn't have yours? It's me. Thank you.
Send it in a bag.
Yeah, David gave me this one, but I gave it back.
Oh, I got it.
That's okay, we just got it. See, what else is one of these sentences? Thanks. Alright, do you want to come stand over here? Can somebody make a motion? Yes. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Mary Malatoga,
Do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of Senator
the office of Senator
of the UMBC Student Government Association
of the UMBC Student Government Association
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
promote and defend
promote and defend
the interests and well-being
the interests and well-being
of UMBC's undergraduate students.
of UMBC's undergraduate students.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, David, even though it's not on the agenda, am I allowed to do that to Miles's? Yeah?
You can ask if anyone objects to adding it to the agenda.
Does anybody object to us amending and reconsidering Miles's legislation to say 2017, 2018 instead of 2018, 2019?
No objections.
No, nobody has any feelings? Okay, good, because I'm only human. I'm doing my best here. All right, so let me look. All right, so David says this works very What's up?
I have a question.
Sure.
slash probably clarification. So Miles, you're still doing minutes. Is that right?
There has been somebody that emailed me about potentially wanting to, but they didn't get back to me whenever I told them what it was and stuff like that. So as of right now, we still don't have it. Alright, so David said, David, I can move to next
If you voted in favor of electing Miles, you need to reconsider.
I move to reconsider SL 56-1718.
Second. We have to take a vote on whether to reconsider. Unless people want to take the question on reconsider.
Does anybody want to debate this or can we vote? How many senators for? Hold on. Oh, sorry.
For debating.
4.
So a yes vote means you want to reconsider the legislation. This is not a yes vote on the legislation. This is
Correct.
a yes vote.
No, this is a reconsider one. And also, Miriam's vote is or isn't. No, I actually did.
Mary listened to the votes.
Yeah, it has to
Mary
be each of
Mary
these.
should not have been sworn in until after the close of all business in the meeting, so she doesn't get to vote.
Nobody stopped me. Sheesh.
Go.
Alrighty, well, how many senators for what? Hello.
I have a question.
What's up?
So if we're reconsidering this,
Yes.
does that mean we have to redo Miles's
We just have to read
thing, or are we just rewriting this?
So we have to move to reconsider,
Yeah,
pass reconsidering,
yeah.
then moving to amend, right, David?
You don't get to make the amendment for a motion.
I'm gonna do this.
Legislation.
Okay. So then we would change it, and then vote on the legislation again.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
That's why I need David's help with this one.
That's why I'm, but, yeah.
Alright.
Yes, my interpretation is this is a technical amendment to correct a typo. It doesn't mean that Miles has not actually been a senator the last couple of years.
Okay. It's fraud, you know? It's fine. Alrighty. So, okay, I forgot where we left off. What's next?
No, we got that motion. We're voting.
Okay. How many senators for reconsider? No one was.
Do I vote for my own
Are you
name?
abstaining? Does he?
Not worth unpacking.
Okay.
I would go with that.
Alright, so
I think the motion passes.
the motion did pass. So now I can just change this, David? Hey
Yes.
friends,
Yes.
can I change this? Alright, thanks guys. This is awful. Let's never do this again. Alrighty.
Now, this legislation is moved and seconded. You decided to be in front of you for reconsideration. You can take a vote on legislation as amended.
Does somebody have to?
That's already
Oh.
moved and seconded.
Alright.
I'm gonna, sorry,
Huh?
can I register an abstention on the grounds that I wasn't here for the actual confirmation?
Sure. Oh, perfect. Alrighty, so, how many senators for? Miles, you can't vote for yourself.
Okay.
1, 2, 3,
I'm also.
4. Oh, was there only 4 of us that day? I think so.
That's 3/4. 2/3.
How many senators opposed? How many? Well, 3 of you are abstaining. Okay. With that, this motion passes. Thank God. What have I learned? A lot. To never make another typo in my entire life. Alrighty. We're rocking and rolling. It's only 6:18. How are we feeling? Great. Perfect. Alright. Senator updates. I want to hear from those of you that I haven't heard from. We all had a conversation that we're not getting away from initiatives, but that, you know, we're giving updates if we need to. And we're gonna do this thing in the Starbucks area, and it's gonna be great. So, who has initiative updates?
I have a short one.
Sure.
We finally met with our working group after a number of missed meetings, and we had a
For
for Common Ground, for the coffee shop. Sorry. And we had a good meeting about like, the direction that we wanted to go and how we wanted to expand the working group, because one of the things we're starting to talk about is transition, especially now that we're starting to move towards the end of the semester. And we're working with Maya, I'm going to say the last name is Rubin, but don't quote me on that. I could be remembering a celebrity. Okay. But so she's also looking to recruit some of her classmates from INDS to help with the project and the design of it. And as we're moving forward, I think Colin and I have stepped a little bit back because we're kind of like trying to give Maya more onus to be able to take on the project, especially since we're not going to be there, though we're still part of the working group and we're still going to be there as people in the group. I think that's my update. Thank you.
I think the key is cybersecurity campaign or initiative is coming back. So if it does, and we actually get a meeting this time with everyone involved, I think I'll be dissolving mine because it's too close to be the key initiative.
Just look like you're dying.
I was like, this is not my initiative, but like we did like a Prove It event. It's Prove It. Yeah, and it was a complete like fail in my opinion, and like it was a fail. I don't know. I left feeling like really annoyed because I feel like we just gave away free pizza and we didn't address like we didn't promote our thing. And I wanted to like ask for feedback on like how to like do outreach events, because I don't want to ever experience that again. Like people literally just came for pizza, like saw pizza and then just ran away afterwards. And like the tables that we sat out, and then we were just basically telling them as they walked away prove it, it's a thing, sign up. Here's the free pizza. Like, how do we do the outreach events? Okay.
I'm wondering how, like, having them have to, like, work for the pizza,
Yeah.
how that might be, like, if you had, like, oh, you need to submit, like, maybe, like, just, like, you give them all a quarter card or something and be like, this is my name, here's something I might be interested in submitting to prove it. And then collecting that and being like, hey, you want to follow through?
Like, how do you, like, how do people, like, usually, like, host or, like, start, like, people who have them outreach events? Like, how do they usually start them?
Yeah. Well, a couple things I've learned from my experience in serving food and being part of events that serve food. One is that you have authority over the food, so protect it. And you can decide at whatever point you can give up the food. I think it's really important to, before the food is given out, to at least like have an info section right then and there, so that those who are there for the food and just for the food at least know about the event. So that way they're not just coming and going for the pizza and piecing out. And even after the info section, like if people just get in line for food, you have that authority to just like, hey, have you heard about Prove It yet? No? Okay, get out of line. We're going to talk to you for a quick minute. It's really about having that sense of authorization, of being the gatekeeper of if people get through or not. But I think having printed materials for folks to take home and just overall more information of where they can go for more information.
So like if you were like just, so you basically like had like a table, like there were tables set out and like we wanted people to like sit and stay and like actually discuss, like how do you get people to stay like initially, like if that makes any sense. Like do you just tell them like sit down and then we're gonna serve you pizza like later after you do this whole activity?
I think it depends though.
It depends on where you're posting it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like a treat.
Yeah, I think it depends on where. For example, like when Gerardo does events with like Mosaic and you go to them, those are more like program events where like you watch like a PowerPoint or you have a conversation with people. Tabling for SGA sometimes is very like get as many people as possible in a short amount of time. And with that, it has to kind of be things like submit an idea and then you get like a piece of pizza and like a t-shirt or something like that, like something a little smaller. I also think advertising is huge and Prove It is suffering a little bit due to some advertising being lacking, which is no fault of your guys necessarily. And so I think also just remembering like you left annoyed but understand that it's not 100% on you and Jordan. It's important for me to stress you guys, but that there's also just some guidance that needs to be given in that realm, and people that have been experienced that haven't stepped in as much as they should be, including like me who's seen Prove It run a few years now. So I think anytime you're doing outreach though, I agree with Bruno kind of deciding like autonomy over the food and the fries that they're getting, even if it's just a t-shirt.
I think one
It's
thing.
still hard though, yeah.
I think one thing that's important to remember is like the food and the work, you have to kind of change what you're doing to make them work for food, because if it's something in the Commons in like 318, then you can do something more of an info session where you draw them into the room with the promise of free pizza, and then you post something and they're all here, and you say like, okay, you can be like, okay, pizza's running late, like they'll be here in 5 minutes, and they'll stay through the info session, and kind of make it seem like you were anticipated to be there. Or you can, but if you're doing it in a breezeway, it has to be something more quick that people won't just like walk away and be like, what's the point of me trying to work for this pizza? Because if they're in the breezeway, a lot of times you get people who are trying to get to class and like they either grab something or they don't. They're not going to spend a lot of time. So that it could be something quick like a clicker question, like ask them a question, or like a quiz. I know that Pure Health educators used to do like that quiz.
Yeah, the little study thing.
The little study thingy. Like something that like is quick to do, but then you can be like, here's your free slice of pizza. Yeah.
But this was like after hours, and like
Yeah.
people were like it was in Main Street, not like the freezer, and like there were tables, and people could stay, but like they didn't want to. Like,
Right.
I'm sorry, am I stressing my question enough? Like, how do you get them to like actually?
I think the problem with the organization of the event, there was organizational problems, and then it was the fact that like all we really had was pizza. Like we like everyone was saying like we definitely need to have more information thing or something like that before we do that pizza. It was like it was informal, but it was too informal to the point where it was like there was nothing there.
I would suggest takeaways like these, so they have something in their hands when you go away. Okay, you have to put this pin on, you can't take it off until you
Until you leave this area. Yeah, I think also just remembering, like, as somebody who, like, even with my RN programs, like, outreach is hard. I mean, and, like, there's a rewarding side of it, but you're not going to be able to reach everybody, and not everybody wants to be reached. So, even whenever we go to, like Starbucks later and start talking to people, understanding that, like, people like that want to talk to us, and it's okay, and you just walk away with somebody that will. Does that help a little bit, though? Okay. You guys have anything else? Really? Alright.
Oh, you know, I just thought something.
Oh, what's that?
I'm thinking of the idea of abstraction. I mean, like I know this would change if we were doing it back to a place like the Breezeway, but really, I feel like anywhere where there's a facility or building, you can make that your turf and like keep the pizza outside. You can tell them the pizza that way, not that way for them. Yeah, you know how long they're going to take sometimes, but you could just have to decide outside of the or whatever the incentive is, just away until you finish, and maybe that way the people that are participating will feel a little more committed.
Kind of what coffee and conversation does. Like, force you to sit down and have a conversation with people before you get your reward.
I mean, even the Coffee on Us that SGA does is basically the same thing.
And maybe like because like Jordan was saying, it was relatively informal. So I guess maybe taking account that everyone that's hosting the event, of course, knows what the event is. But it was because I had quite a few conversations before it was transparent to me what Prove It was. So I'm thinking maybe for the people that are going to do this, though they know what it is, they sit down and have a conversation about what's consistently going to be shared with people that are trying to get them.
One thing that also might help, and I just love this, is that you can showcase past privileges, because I think if people see something familiar, like the one that I know most people use is the solar panel tables. So if you have like a board that says like, funded by SGA and has pictures of the table, and then like if you go closer, there's more information on it, and like that project specifically, I feel like people will get their eye, like they'll see like, okay, Prove It, at least at the very least they'll associate Prove It and those tables, Prove It and this project. And then they'll get ideas as well. So you can kind of bring them into a conversation that way, or at least help them with their understanding of what Prove It is when we get to it.
And what is the timeline for Prove It? Like,
We can talk about that later.
okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
I feel like as another sort of way to incentivize like conversation discussion is maybe having like a sort of reward. If like you participate, you get like a sticker or something, and everyone has a sticker, it's like a second slice of pizza or something.
Is that what you're going to Starbucks for later to talk about food?
So after we adjourn the meeting, we're actually gonna move to Starbucks to do some outreach with people, just like talking about what they care about on campus or issues that they're seeing. Kind of try to set it a little bit more present. Recently, it's like room every Monday, but not like people know we're here, but not really, or know who we are. So it's kind of trying to like do some outreach, talk to people. Feel free to come if you want. Okay, other initiatives. I'm meeting with Jen tomorrow. We have a one-on-one. think 2 weeks ago I met with Roberto Chiamata for our committee group meeting. Other than that, we're just waiting for the new PSA office to give us people that need help. So, shared governance committees. Gerardo.
I wasn't here 2 weeks ago, but I know Suzanne Broschwig, probably butchered her last name, but I know she was here to try to recruit. I'm just curious if there was anyone who said yes to become a part of that committee, and if so, let me know right now so I can have this calendar invite.
I just forgot to send her an email.
About
That's also my problem. Yeah, I said I would connect her. I forgot.
I didn't matter. I'm meeting with tomorrow.
Okay. So both of you are part of the committee question?
Yeah.
Wait, so what committee?
Academic conduct, right?
Oh, no.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
And like, what are the meeting times? Because I have to take on like three committees.
You can probably work with Manisha. She could probably help. Yeah.
Then how many committees do I have?
Two. Though you might not remember two. Just because of
Yeah.
we'll figure it out though.
That's all I wanted to know about the first meeting, so we all know this is Thursday. And if you have any questions about how that works, we should probably connect. Let me know. That's weird.
So, we have RSA, which we met with the week, or yeah, before spring break. We talked a lot about the internet and things like pretty much issues with coverage and like answering questions. And I took a bunch of notes if anyone's interested in that, or if anyone has like questions that I can answer now. So everyone should maybe just encryption.
There was RSA. Yeah. It was RSA.
Oh, it's
Okay. Resident Student Association.
Okay.
You're good. Thank you for asking. We get caught up in acronyms. So.
Yes.
Brandon, we just want to like go over some of the general, more important parts for people.
Sure. So some of the issues in the fall was that if you're a resident here or use like any of the ports around, you would join one like modem, I guess, and then you wouldn't leave it, so that each time you like logged off and logged back in, they would still think that you were there, so you connected farther and farther away until they were like essentially dead zones. And they fixed that. And other things about like wired and wireless connections having issues, they fixed that as well. I don't really know what the problem is, though.
The patch, looks like the other patch.
Right, and so they've essentially been slapping a bunch of band-aids on, and they're hoping to consolidate them. But hopefully these band-aids are holding them. One thing, though, that I thought was a nice takeaway was differences between Eduroam and Visitor and Campus. So Visitor, you don't have to log in, right? And it goes through a separate encrypting little thing. So essentially there's Visitor, little encrypting little buddy, and you go through both of them, right? UMBC Campus is non-encrypted. So that's like, you know what I mean? So,
Wait,
yeah.
no, you have to switch straight.
No, it's UMBC Campus is not. You log in and they're like,
Oh,
authentication
my
can be
bad.
stolen because it's not encrypted. So they're like, watch out. So Eduroam is encrypted, and that's why they want everyone to use Eduroam, because there is an authentication and there's also encryption. So they're like, Eduroam is supposed to be the safest.
Wait, my notes say that Visitor is not encrypted and Campus is encrypted.
But that's why the Visitor has a second little thing in
That's Campus.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why Visitor has a second thing in We can,
Visitor is like the bottom tier one.
right.
So just anybody can access it and it's not as like safe. And then Campus is encrypted because you have to sign in.
How does authentication?
Oh god.
Yeah.
Look, either way, apparently they're all different or they're all the same, but
Right.
I told him that that wasn't how that actually worked.
Right. Oh, also, Eduroam is a pain with Windows devices, and you need a certificate that you can find on the UBC wiki. So if you have a Windows device and you want to use Eduroam, you're gonna have to go on that. Yep. Download another thing. Apparently, Eduroam is also spotty with mobile devices.
Yeah, someone just put in a group chat like earlier today about this exact problem. So
So the person to contact for these issues is Damian Doyle, who's offering his services to support people with IT issues.
Or submit an IT ticket. That works too, they said.
Yes, and if you don't know where to find that, I also do not know where to find it, and it took me until now, my second semester junior year. And I found the Do It Ticket service. You want that
I
share?
submitted that. Yeah.
Oh, so like what? Not what is it? How exactly do we communicate this to the masses? Like, yeah, like is RSA like talking to like students or?
So RSA meetings are public and open. They don't have like video things, but they have posters literally everywhere in the residential part of campus. And so anyone's allowed to go. All residents get like emails and stuff like that. So anyone can go to the GBMs. The information isn't as widely distributed.
I'd say that part of why we go is so that we can then put out the information to the Senate. And basically, the way I do it is whenever I hear people complaining, I'm like, hey, you should submit an IT ticket. And they're like, oh, why? And I'm like, because if you give 100, then they'll know there's an issue. Which is what Damian actually said. Like, he would rather have like 1,000 tickets about one issue and understand like this is really an issue than just have like people complaining about it. He didn't even know the channels were missing in Chesapeake, so people aren't communicating it to do it, so they just don't know how to fix it.
Like, how do you do that?
Submit tickets.
How do you find a ticket?
Yeah.
So you can put it through Fixit. Fixit'll put it
I'll send
to
you a link.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is hard to find.
It's so hard. If you go to their website and they'll say open a ticket, it'll take you down to a different ticketing thing. It's a different option that I can't remember the name of, but it's like below that drop bar. It's like open a ticket, and that's the thing that actually lets you submit a ticket. It's super.
Yeah, I called them and had them walk me through when I needed them, when I lived in Kansas.
So yeah, I'll send it out, and I think that's another thing we can do with making ourselves more visible.
So is this like all like typed up somewhere, or like just like RSA like distributes this information to like it's like local?
Essentially, if you go there, you get to listen. But they don't have like a did they have a secretary?
I think one of the board members takes minutes technically, but the way the information is dispersed is not.
So how would people know if like they were having like, tech issues? Like,
So yeah, essentially
I know
there's
it's frustrating, but
yeah, that's really frustrating.
your community council should also have an RSA liaison. So there's at least one person in every building that listens and can distribute that same information.
if you want, you should reach out to them about potentially sending it off to people.
Okay.
Are you good? University experience in every Friday. How was that?
Like next year.
Oh, thanks. That's Friday. By the way, it's in my calendar. I live my life in my future. So, what other things we got? Anything? Maybe you should just send that beautiful email to you guys. Please check it and read it. So that as she sees. Alright, so we're moving on to announcements. Alright, who's got announcements? That's what I do before, so
That's
it's
just,
just-
yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Oh, this is so great.
Keep forgetting about you. I'm sorry. I know.
That's cool. And what I have on an announcement for a question for all of you, really. So the consideration of the budget proposal is going to take up a lot of time for the next few weeks. Here we are at 6:40, apparently nearing the end of the Senate meeting. Would it be useful to spend a few minutes with people who have experience with the budget, sort of previewing what it is that the Senate does in connection with the budget, where the money comes from, how it's organized, all the fundamentals?
Yeah, David's the week ahead. That's what I plan to do next week. That's okay. I mean, it's still, we have time. Is everybody okay with that? Can we do that?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, just so you guys know my timeline. What did I tell Carla and her last night? So next week, I was going to bring up the budget, go through pretty generally. When does it have to be presented to FRB?
End of April?
Okay.
And the middle of April, when they vote in April.
this is gonna be like a 3-week process. So your first meeting with it is gonna be me introducing us going through the general things, each kind of like domain of what it is. The second week is gonna be us going line item by line item. Third week, we're gonna vote on it. That's just the general. All right, now time to find this. What is this? Guys, where is it? Oh. 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 It should be, right?
Budgets.
Hey. This one?
Yes.
And what does it consist of? What do we are on?
Because it might have some information about it.
But I feel like this was them telling us what they were changing.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's what it should.
Yeah.
That one. It's not working.
Oh, okay. Hi, this is the many different tabs of the budget. So David, I might need your help with some of this, and Mara as well. I haven't ever had to present a budget to anybody, so how should we go about this? Should we first talk about where the budget comes from?
Or the process for approving the budget.
And I talked to Josh Jen about it, but traditionally, I don't want to speak wrong and then people like crucify me. Does that make sense? Like, so traditionally what we did last year and what I saw was done the year before as well is, so in working with Josh and Hannah, who's the treasurer, and finance board eventually, it goes to them, correct? The Senate ourselves, we're going to go line item by line item, discuss the things that can or cannot be changed, because some of these things can't change, like how we fund the coordinator doesn't really change. But that will change, I guess. Damn.
Bad example.
Well, there's other things also. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But there are things in this budget that don't necessarily change, or they don't change by much. For example, like SEB, our charter organization, most of the time we give them around the same amount of money. So we'll go through line item by line item, talk about a little bit of what it is, both with the help of me, David. Probably Josh will be here for a lot of it also, since Josh has a few years of experience. And talk about whether or not cut, increase, stay the same, right?
Yeah, I think the important thing about this, before we get into the details, is the president and the treasurer who develop SGA's budget. So the Senate's role is more analogous to the role we play in confirmations, except that the question you're presented with is not just a yes or no, it's you can take what they propose to you and do whatever you want with it. Right? So you can change the lines. Louis is right that most of the lines tend to be about the same from year to year. You're not likely to have radically different costs for your postage or telephone or whatever. A different spreadsheet, but the big decisions, the big changes that either Hannah and Josh want to make or they don't want to make that you do are the things that you spend time talking about. So you'll either adopt what they present to you with a vote, or you'll make amendments and then adopt what you've created with a vote, and then the finance board gets to consider it. Unlike the Senate, the finance board only gets to vote yes or no. If they vote no, it comes back to you to consider their concerns, and you try and develop a version that will pass the finance board. But only you get to make amendments.
Okay.
So like sort of like just like I guess like summarize just to make sure I understand. So like this is us like I guess like allocating like our $1 million like
That's exactly what this is.
budget. Okay. So then we're like this is like a write up to like this is a write up of like all the funds and where they go, and then we basically decide whether or not they go for sure.
Yeah, and then some of what you're doing is putting money in places like the finance board, where it's going to then go through further decision processes as to how exactly it's broken down during the year. But these tabs, so you're looking at the overall tab. This is the entire $1 million, right? We're showing at the line down near the bottom. You have in this budget $1,016,000 in budgeted expenses for that's probably a year or two ago. And then $990,000 in budgeted revenues. They're projecting to go into reserve with a deficit that year of $35,000. So you're going to get a spreadsheet that has these columns that show you the past and the proposed future, which will be over to the right side. You're making a judgment about that. And then one of the lines from this overall budget is the SGA operating budget line. There you go, the operating budget is line 815. So the second tab gives you lots of detail about what's happening with that line. So all these numbers are a part of that 230,000. Your stipends, Prove It, programs that SGA is funding, some partnerships with the departments. Yep.
Like how much autonomy are we given like by like administration, like, or is this like completely us? Like we're like giving it up completely?
So the part, so we passed the budget within SGA, and that SGA departments agree that this is how we want to allocate the money. And then it goes to the Student Activities Fee Review Board, which reviews all 3 charter organizations, so SGA, the Retriever Weekly, and SEP's budget. And it's consisted of students who are not involved with the SGA as voting members, as well as faculty and staff and administration. So there's a good mix of people who are looking at this budget to make sure it aligns with their goals. It doesn't seem kind of like suspicious of me putting money somewhere where like we shouldn't be putting money, and that it's actually going to benefit students, or like that we make a good argument that it would be benefiting students. And if they approve the budget, then I believe it goes to Dr. Kabrowski to get signed off on. So he does review our budget.
I'd say we have a lot of power in this situation. Like, budget it's fun, but it's intense for me. I enjoy it, but it's because we're literally making decisions of, one, how much we're putting to things and what we're choosing to support. And it's a lot of conversation, like a lot of, just a heads up, like there will be conversations in here where one of us feels like we should cut it and one of us doesn't, and we're gonna have to get through that and 100% it as we keep adding new members, and we haven't really had to do that, so we'll have to be easy with each other, but yeah.
So like, what is the review process like? I'm sorry if I'm asking too much.
No, please ask questions.
But like, what is there, like, so I'm assuming that you guys like get like, because you guys have like the list of all of us, because you guys have the list of the funds that were allocated like last year. Like, do you guys have like, I guess, feedback on like how not to? I'm not making any sense.
No, it's review process.
So like this,
sure.
So like, whether or not like you allocated too much money to a specific like.
From the Student Activities Fee Review Board?
No, from us.
From us.
Yeah, I'm like how do we?
So basically,
I think like what I've seen in the past a lot of times, and I think this is what you're asking of like, how are you asking kind of like how do we decide whether or not like we've given too much money in the past, or if it was actually used and stuff like that?
Yeah, like is there like a end of the year like review process that we can like apply to the new budgeting season, if that makes any sense?
So when they present the budget, that's why Hannah and Josh will work together to present us with a spreadsheet that, because the budget will have what was budgeted for last year and the actual expenses. So you can see like if it's being underutilized. And since some costs may not be accounted for just yet, they might tell us like, oh, that number is like lower because of this reason. And that way, it helps us when we are deciding, and it's the same thing for the Student Activities Fee Review Board, is they kind of look at it and they're like, so why is this one under? And you just have to be like, yeah, this one's this one.
And there's annual things that we fund, like Bike Share, and we do Take Back the Night and stuff like that, so there's also conversations about, do we keep like funding Bike Share? Like that's one that came up last year, right? So, yeah. Does that answer your question though?
The student, in 15 years I've been part of this process, the Student Activity Fee Review Board has yet to vote down an SGA budget that's been adopted by the Senate and the Finance Board. what they'll do is say, we're not going to take a vote on this until you put some more thought into this. Like you've proposed to double your stipends. Well, what are the stipends paid for officers at other university system and Maryland institutions? We want to see that you've done the work, but they don't view themselves as making the judgments about how to use the fee. That's fundamentally a job.
And mostly just there, having served on it, it's mostly just have you thought out what you're telling us you should do, and if you think that you just kind of put a number out and decided on it, then we make you work for it.
Yeah, if we were to start paying the speaker to send like $4,000, it'd be like,
For no rhyme or reason.
yeah. Does that make sense? All right, does anybody else have other questions? Okay, so then I'm just kind of gonna go through the general stuff. So focusing on like the big bulk of what we'll be talking about, as you see, everything's broken up into like, I don't want to say category, but kind of like categories. So here you see like the election board, marketing and setup costs. You see how much the chair gets paid, and the member stipends, which are divided by the amount of members that are with the executive board, the election board. And then it'll always have like a total of how much this has cost. And you'll see also over here, it'll tell you if we did things like, for example, we had to run a new copier, consistently overspend. So there's things that, as people have put notes in here to make us think about, like, if we're consistently overspending office supplies, then we should probably up that for next year. Or like have that conversation about, well, why are we overspending so much? Or where do things need to be? Why are we out of paper so often? Or are people printing things they shouldn't be? Or taking pens that taking boxes of pens or things that we need to be using for the office. I don't even understand why this is still a line item at this point, but it is what it is. Equipment update, that was like live streaming stuff, student org space upgrades. As you see, homecoming. Well, yeah, as you see. Program initiatives, stress-free zone, how much that's given, prove it, how much that's given. Basically, like when you go through this, and like I said, as you guys get some time over the next 2 weeks, we'll also talk about this next meeting, but as you guys get some time, feel free to just kind of like skedaddle your way through here and look at it, and when you have questions, like ask what it is, and again, we're going to go through literally line by line. And we're going to be like meeting support, this much money, and have conversations about that amount. Prove it stuff right here. MHEC, USMSC for reimbursement for women which have to travel to different universities and different places. This is all of the stipends and the different changes from year to year and where they went, like assistant speaker. This is the entire finance board and senate stuff and how much we spend on stipends and salaries. And then we go into co-sponsorships, like the library. We do help them with like their DVD collection, hydration stations, funding. Carnival, we do give money to SEB additionally from what we already give them for the carnival specifically, and we're going to get well. OCSS, student life, we should probably be campus life now, I guess, but we'll change it. Again, like I said earlier, bike share, that's a program in the gym where people can have they can like, I'm pretty sure given your, not your red ID, is it your red card?
Mm-hmm.
They keep it?
Yeah, they keep it to you. No, they give it back to you. They just love that you take a bike.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, and you can just take a bike, and if you ever walk through the gym, you'll see that SGA has like a big triangle, not triangle, that's not a triangle, a big like rectangular cutout around it that has our old logo on it. We need to change that eventually. Take Back the Night. That's what Jess was in here talking about earlier, that we can give monetary and physical and emotional support to Take Back the Night and sexual assault awareness month. The arts and stuff, student bus manager, and then this was Okamoka, which we should probably get an update on eventually. Maybe I should reach out to Josh. Forgot about Okamoka. David, will this completely disappear? This is the Craig tab.
Presumably you're going to want to allow your classes to have some money instead.
Or for like the retreats and stuff.
Yeah, there are use for this is to allow SGA to spend money at times when there's not always designated treasurer around the sun, president. Right, that's the kind of thing that gets here stuff you want to just let the advisor purchase for you.
So, yeah.
I literally cannot help it.
I don't know what these two tabs are, but they're empty, so. Questions? Like I said, we're gonna go through this together and talk about it. Heads up, those will be longer meetings. I don't want anybody to think that it won't be. I'm gonna do my best to not put other work on top of that, such as speakers and things like that. Like the heavy 2 budget meetings that we will have, I plan for us to come in and just give like brief initiative updates potentially, and then just get straight to the budget. That's all we will be doing for the 2 nights. Solely because the 2 budget ones have kept me here for 11 till 11 o'clock at times, and it's because it's important, so I understand that. But I'm giving you guys a heads up that please don't think that you're gonna get out at 9:30, 8:45 o'clock, because it's probably not gonna happen. Not trying to be mean, just saying that's how it is. All right, questions before you guys go off on your own and look at this in a few days. Gerardo.
Not a question, but it's a comment. Well,
Sure.
not, one of the biggest things, or at least things that might form some sort of tension, is because we as a Senate are able to amend the budget, and the Finance Board does not have that ability, it's really important that any sort of amendments we have during the budget season, we have an open line of communication with the Finance Board. So at times we might ask if anyone from the Senate, because it could be an amendment from the Senate and not from the President or the Treasurer, to be present at a Finance Board meeting where it's then getting presented as well. Just so that someone who was part of that discussion can represent the Senate's voice. And that's really important. And if you're available on those Tuesdays.
Yeah. And vice versa, I also plan on inviting the Finance Board to the meetings for us whenever we're going through it, just because I know they don't really get about the voice, because they just get it, but our meetings are open, and they should be able to ask questions and talk about it also. Stipends also get a little intense. I'm hoping they won't this year, but just a fair warning. Money makes people feel weird. Causes issues. Justin.
Do all the other organizations that we pay, I've noticed the Women's Center came in, but do others come in and like just talk about what they do and like why we're funding them?
I think it depends on who first. Jess was really adamant on coming in because she wanted to talk about Take Back the Night primarily, but I think just in Jess Meyer nature, she is a very kind person, so I'm not surprised that she said all of that, because she didn't tell me she was going to say all that, she just wanted to come and talk about Take Back the Night. So I think it's a fair point though, but not from what I've seen. Have they come in heavily? No?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of times when we see expenditures out of that part of the budget, and we see road staff as well.
Sure, yeah, but I think he's talking about more like
just to talk
like
about
a face presence kind of thank you kind of thing.
What about the budget? Or just in general?
Because
About
I feel like
us funding things.
when it comes to the budget, usually just the president or the treasurer will talk about how that money's been spent and like the relationship that we have.
Yeah.
And kind of how it's going. Though I think you're right, we probably should invite them. But just because I don't know how that
It's
would work.
it's a weird spot with certain
Yeah.
ones.
Alright, what is the res gap again?
I can't remember the
So a res gap is something you fill out whenever you're requesting money, but I forget the acronym.
The request for the expenditures to government association.
There we go. Yeah.
It's like form that you need to, any organization uses 10 months.
You don't have to ask. There's a reason why we call it a res gap. It's a mouthful. But yeah. So I think, but also understanding that like certain times whenever we give money, like whenever Finance Board gives money, they're talking to the works and they're speaking to them and stuff like that. So we could probably extend the same hand. We probably should. But also understanding that people like SEB who we've been giving money to for years and 20 years probably are going to come and just chit chat with us. But we can still extend the hand. David, what do you have to say?
Well, there's no reason not to hear from them, right? Particularly if you're asking me for a different amount of money, it makes sense for you to have a conversation with them.
So you're saying we should talk to Richard and SEB? Okay.
Well, I think it also depends on what they're asking.
I mean, we give them $230,000.
No, I agree, but like if it's gonna be consistent, then it's I think different than saying like they're asking for $230,000 to $300,000. I agree, like if they're requesting more, and I guess that we just have to wait till we see the budget because we don't know how much they're requesting this year.
Yeah. So I don't even know how much this budget is going to change. We kind of have to, Josh told me that he'll be sending a proposal soon. Just because with campus life changing and with Dan requesting money, I don't know if that's going to make the budget look like necessarily. Also, like, isn't the accounting associate now funded by, do we still pay the accounting associate?
It's wrapped into that flat amount.
That Dan
Josh
wants.
and Dan negotiated.
Right, so this all, like, might be a little different. I'm not sure yet, though. I don't really do all this. So. I'm not money hands. I just talk. Dave? Oh, you. Questions? Cool. Can we all say that if we have questions, we'll ask them as they come? And that we will actually look at the budget outside of the Senate meeting? Because I promise you, if you don't, it's going to be hell. All right, cool. Announcements. SRC report. Do this Wednesday. Do it so you can get money.
Basketball team celebrations tomorrow.
It is. Please go. I had to make more graphics for Chartwells.
It's really exciting.
Hey. What else? There was something else. Take Back the Night. Please sign up. Just to use it. Also, spots are limited, so if you want to hand in that. I know all volunteers get a t-shirt. It's also a pretty cool event. Pretty impactful. I'm only going for setup, but you guys can just do that too.
Scheduled classes over time.
Oh my god.
Also something that housing selection.
Oh, housing selection closes tomorrow night at 11:59 p.m. and groups lock May 30th. March 30th. March 30th. Ooh. SJ candidate application closed today at noon. Yep. Just want everybody to know. That being said, again, I'll reiterate my message. Candidate talking here is not allowed, and we're not going to do that. So, if you want to talk about your election, that's cool. Talk about it outside of the meeting. Past 5:30 p.m. when the meeting adjourns. Also not during pass the gavel. That's just hostile. Asking for hostile environment. But feel free to reach out for help. I'm serious. I know those of us that are graduating or like that are have been in SGA are willing to help you. And I'm sure Manisha and David and Ricardo and I and we're all here for questions and guidance. Whatever your heart desires. There's another question I got. So, moving on. Any last words? David will give his advisory report during Pass the Gavel because I keep leaving him out of the agenda. Because the template doesn't have advisory report in it, so therefore I forget about David. Sorry, David. You're a trooper. Alright. Any last words? Remember, after we do Pass the Gavel, your time here is not technically done. We're going to the Starbucks after this. Are we good? Can I gavel? Brandon, you got anything to say? Any announcements? No? Alright, so this meeting is adjourned at 7:05 p.m. We're doing the good stuff. I gotta turn off the lecture. I just pushed stop streaming, right?
Pretty much.